Okay, hello, and welcome to the second code review for Sanctum. This is going to be combining weeks 1 and 2 kind of into one video because I was a little long in my last video and was having some trouble actually uploading some stuff. So um, I optimized a bunch of scripts. In particular, I was going to say things, but I optimized a bunch of scripts. So this video should be a little bit shorter. Um, so some things that were done. Last time I think we talked about the UI for most part. This time I want to go into some stuff. So let's get into the aesthetics first. So here we have our level 1. Ooh, 2D. So I started creating the first level here. Okay. I'm just going to focus in on here so we can see a little bit better. Make this nice and big. Okay, perfect. Okay, so level 1, we start off in a little corridor section right here. You come out into this little hallway, and this is where this is the very first part, basically. So I wanted the aesthetic to be nice and super sci-fi, super scary, because I'm setting kind of the tone and aesthetic for the rest of the game. So yeah, that's why we have, this excessive kind of blood splattering. I kind of just want them to know what they're getting into. These guys are actually nothing. They're ragdolls, and when the game starts, they'll fall over and just be dead bodies on the floor here. Since we're talking aesthetic changes, I am trying to move to eliminate the use of real-time lighting in my game. Not completely, because it's still nice to have, but strongly. And because of that, I switched the textures here to be emissive. So my materials are all emitting a small amount of light, so that means that you can see them even in dark places or where there is no point lights or spotlight or any real-time lights for that instance. I did that on purpose because, like, for areas like this where it doesn't seem super dark, it's still kind of dark, and throwing a point light or a real-time light in here just really messed the aesthetic up. So we're sticking with baked lighting. This is all baked, by the way. Everything you see here is baked lighting. It looks really good, in my opinion, at least for where we are in the development period. So the purpose of this room right here is the start. So the player will start here. He's going to make his way out here. He's going to pick up his first weapon. Ideally, he's going to encounter his first set of enemies, which are these walker guys, who I will get into soon. They're finished, by the way. Once you kind of get the idea of how to shoot them and move around, you'll proceed into, I guess I'll show you an aerial view first, this big room right here, which is atrium 1. So there's multiple atriums. This is not the main atrium, but this is one of them. So I have not developed any spawn points. I'm still building this level as we go, but building, playing it, making sure the scale works okay, stuff like that. We have a nice little seating area here. These tables and everything are set up in such a way so the nav mesh, when it bakes, I guess I can show you navigation. There we go. Let's go ahead and bake it. There we go. Yeah, so it's set up in such a way, so I have obstacles here. We gotta do some painting over there, but for the most part, everything is set pretty nicely. We have some artifacting because of Pro Builder, but it's all good. Move you back up here. There we have 2 little corridors, a locked door, little laboratory area. This is all finalized, the placements of everything. If the ceiling was in here, I'd give you a nice top-down view. But yeah, so this is the main atrium level. There will be an extension of this room for level 1, and it's going to be on this side. Coming out to the left here, it's accessible via this tunnel. Once you get the key, that's in here. And I will make a door over here so you can get out. But yeah, we also added this nice little planet that rotates, just some aesthetic stuff, yeah. Okay, so one more major thing I want to talk about for aesthetics before moving on is the menu. So we have some things changed for the menu here. I got rid of the static image and I added, once it plays I'll show you, I added just a little particle effect / clip, audio clip. There it is. I think it looks nice and professional. It sticks with my bluish kind of theme here. So cool, right? Let's restart. Perfect. I'll walk through the level just so you can kind of get an idea of the scale. Scaling is much better than it used to be. At least in my opinion it feels that way. Things are much better placed. If I go under stats and we play, so I'm getting variable frame rate, but it seems to be kind of hovering right around 65. It only kind of changes when I kind of ooh. So this room is giving us some problems in here. I have a suspicion it's because of these monitors. I'm not 100% sure. I guess not. There's something in here it doesn't like. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's those particle effects. Yeah, I have a feeling it's those particles. But yeah, everything else looks nice and works well. Back to 60. Perfect. Okay, so that's the end of my aesthetics kind of showcase. Let's hop into some technical stuff, and I'm going to try to be brief here. Not sure how we're running on time. 7 minutes, not too bad. Okay, so let's hop into our scene view, and I want to show you some enemies, right? Okay, let's get it on our player. Let's go to our prefabs. Not enemies. These guys are all final. Here, I'll drag this window down so you can take a look at what they're all gonna look like, and they're all planned out as well. We have our arsonist. He's gonna walk around and set things on fire. He's gonna like summon little areas in front of him that, pillars of flame and stuff like that. So he's gonna be kind of ranged, but he's not gonna be throwing any projectiles. There's gonna be game objects that can be set on fire as well, and we all know that the player can be damaged by fire. So that's one enemy. Brute is a big boy, kind of like a mini boss. If you just look at him, you can kind of just tell what he's gonna be doing. Is your typical kind of tanky boss. Here's our walker. There are just basic, the most basic enemy. You've seen them already in game. I'm going to show you. This is what we're going to be talking about further in this video. So I'm not going to talk about what he does right now. Our Chimera is definitely another boss / mini boss, depending on their size. This is a complex enemy I'm going to be working on, if not the end of this month, the beginning of next month. He can spawn little spiders. He can breathe fire. He can melee attack. He can do a lot of stuff. We'll be able to, I should say. Here's our Hellion. He's gonna work almost exactly like the imps from Doom. So he's a caster. He's gonna cast, I guess, just fireballs. Not to be cliche, but that's the projectile of choice for him, and he teleports as well. So he doesn't really walk. He's stationary for the most part, but he moves by teleporting, and he can throw fireballs. This guy's fun, and I'm excited to start working on him. Our reanimator is going to be always surrounded by these 3 insects, and he sends the insects out as his projectiles to attack you. So he can melee attack you if you get close, but that's not how he operates. He likes to keep his distance, and he likes to shoot these guys at you, and they have their own little minds of their own. They do their own sets of damage. The way to kill him is either just shoot him outright, or take out all of his bees and then take him down. So that's like the more of these guys that he has up, the more health he'll have. So it's easier, to take them out and then take him down. Our Tortured, I don't know what I want to do with him, mainly because I don't really like this character model too much. But he looks kind of funky with his legs. So I was in my notes here that I'm reading. It says jumps a lot and slashes. So I don't know exactly what I want to do with him, but I'll as the game progresses and we see how things work and play out, I'll add stuff for him. And our Walker, yeah. So we have Walker, Charred Walker, they're the same. Okay. So let's drop our Charred Walker in the scene. Let's turn the lights on so you guys can see. I'll pull this up because there's some things I want to talk about first. So you'll notice all of these colliders on him, and if you're not sure what that is, it's ragdoll rigid bodies. If you know what it is, then obviously we can move forward. But this is a ragdoll that I applied on him. A ragdoll basically creates rigid bodies on all of his joints, and they all have their own separate masses and stuff like that. So the rigid body is not it's kinematic until I tell it to be unkinematic, at which point it will fall and react to physics and stuff like that. That happens when he dies, obviously. So instead of going with the typical death animation, what we're doing is the death animations were looking stale. It was annoying having him fall down the same way every single time. So in lieu of that, we're doing rigid body death, and our buddy here is going to just collapse like our other guys over here that are just going to fall. Because if I click on them, well, they do have it, I promise. Yeah, there it is. Except their heads are looking a little wonky, but it doesn't matter. Not for these guys, at least. This guy's head is good. I fixed him. And that's a good segue, actually, into the coding part and stuff. So you'll notice here's our NavMesh agent. The agent's very, very big right now, and it's that way on purpose. I'm just testing stuff. It's going to shrink to around his size when it needs to be, for him pathing to be a little bit better. But you saw the other guy's head was huge. I fixed his head, and you'll see like this little white thing in front of him, and that's a canvas, so this white thing. The canvas displays the damage done to the enemy when shot at, and when this particular enemy is shot at and his head is shot at, it will do bonus damage, just like in any other game. Headshots deal extra damage, and it was pretty easy to actually do that because he already had a collider on him. So I think aesthetically that is everything. There is one thing that you cannot see, and it's because it's not active at the moment, which I guess I can easily fix by activating it. We have a melee collider here. That collider gets triggered on and off when he actually strikes, and it's through the animation, so we never have any issues. Basically, if he hits the player, if it goes through the player, it'll deal damage. So I want another pistol pickup in front of my player. So what I'm doing here is I'm placing a pistol pickup that I created, and I'm just putting it in the map in front of our player for him to pick up. Ooh, it looks a little high. Let's just keep it right here. Gonna move our walker. I'm gonna give him a bunch of distance from us because I want you to. I'm gonna play the game, and you're gonna observe his behavior while I narrate, just to get the full idea. You know what? We'll leave this. I guess it's not important for this. So let's go ahead and play. Now the scene is baked, so he shouldn't have any issues walking around. Okay. So if we hide from him, we'll notice he's idling. Now he's walking, now he's idling. Walking and idling. And he picked a different direction. Okay, so what behavior you're exhibiting right now is our walker's ability to wander. He will wander until what just happened. We crossed his line of sight, at which point his chase state has been triggered. So now our walker is going to chase us until he gets in close enough range to do that. And he'll attack us. And if we shoot our walker, we can see that it's doing some damage now, right? So try to get a headshot. We'll see that it's in yellow. Very cool. So, and there we go. Physics when he died. So if we move into our scene and we kind of just duplicate these guys. Put one over there, put one over here, and put one over here. We kind of just position the scene right here, and we'll play. There's one more thing that's worth noting, and to do so, I'm gonna have to hide. Oh, okay. He saw us. And he saw us. Okay, well, we'll talk about that later. First, I just want to show you guys the headshot kind of damage. So this guy's going to keep wandering. So white, and then we get headshot. And headshots deal more. 25, 44. Significantly more. Probably should lower it a little bit, but for now, I just wanted you to be able to see that it does a different damage. Okay, so they're going to keep following me until I am out of range. Now that I'm out of range, these guys are going to go back to wandering. So that's the point I wanted to make earlier. So I'm going to stay back here completely out of range. Oh, you know what? I'm going to have to stop because we're in maximize. I want you guys to take notice of the enemies in my scene view. So they're not going to be robotical. I kind of was aiming for, you know, the whole point of AI is to make it as intelligent as you can. This guy sees me right away all the time. Let's get out of here before he kills us. And there's our really nice rigid body physics. I love that. How he just fell right over. Okay. Cool, so no one's following us. Let's crouch down here. Go to our scene view. That right there. Notice how he's wandering at a much quicker pace. Like his wander interval is different than his. Also, the radius in which that he's choosing a point to wander in is different. So that makes it so these guys are not the same. They have essentially a mind of their own. He's picking how far he wants to go, and it's separate from him picking how far he wants to go. They're making decisions based on where they are relative to other enemies as well. And yeah, so they're pretty smart. I wonder if I can move. Okay, good. So let's break into some code here and take a look at what's under the hood and how I made this stuff work. So I had a little talk with a guy from Epic, and he gave me a hint of how to, use, make, and create state machines for my enemies. And I used that tip, and I did some research, and I created my own state machines. Okay, so here on the walker, we'll see that there's one script on him, and it's just called the walker script, Charred Walker. Every enemy is going to have their own script, and that's it. That's the way it should be. What's new is we have this. We have something called a state machine. Before, I had a faux state machine. It wasn't very real, and it was all within it was a switch statement, and I had different enumerations for states that they were in, so on and so forth. For this, I have enemy scripts. This. I'm going to open all of them and go over them just really quickly. Okay, so I know it seems like a lot that I just opened, but it's really not too bad. State Wander. Yeah, that's what we want. Okay. First and foremost, a state machine. So I like to, and I'll kind of just draw this out real quick in case you're not familiar, or anyone watching this is not familiar with what a state machine is. A state machine is essentially, think like a game cartridge, right? So we have our N64. And the N64, this is a very programmer drawing, but the N64 has this slot for you to put in game cartridges. So this will be our game cartridge. Okay, so this goes in the N64, and the N64 could basically only do what? It can only do three things. It can play a game, it can turn on, and it can turn off. Right? That's basically all a machine can do. So a state machine, which is this, does the same thing, right? So this is our state machine. And we have different states. So like we have attack state, wander state, idle state, different states over here. The states get plugged in, and the state machine plays it, right? It's literally that simple. We have a whole bunch of these different ones. So we have, like, say, attack state, another one for chase state, and so on and so forth. We have a whole bunch of these, or a whole bunch of them. And here's examples: state attack, state wander, and there's more, and there's going to be more to come. And the state machine is just that. So we have a couple functions in it. We have a current state and a previous state. Now, what is iState? iState is just an interface, and it's in this class that I was showing you guys. It's an interface that has three functions, and these three functions are exactly what we talked about. Enter, run, and exit. Enter and exit would be your on and off. It's the same principle. So our state machine takes two different states and it just keeps track of, hey, what state are we in? What state were we in? We can either change states, run the current state that we're in, or go back to the previous state. So an example, just real quick, just so you guys can see this or get an idea of this visually. Say we're in an idle state, we're running our current idle state, and then we start chasing the player. We change state to attack or chase state, then it'll go to run. We run that state until he gets close, or I get too far away. If I get too far away, I'm not going to change state again. I can go right back to my previous state. So these are cool little functions, and our state machine is very simple. Once we go into our actual enemy, I lost my chart walker. Here he is. So an enemy base, which is our base enemy script, this is basically, it might as well be an interface. It just has a bunch of variables that every enemy has, and a take damage script that every enemy can get. We have a state machine, and it's public, just so I can see what's going on. Charred Walker, when we start him, we immediately put him inside of this.m state machine equals new state.wander. Boom. So he goes right into the wander state. What happens is, if I say, okay, so we created a state machine and we ran change state, which is wander, which is this logic, okay? This state, this stuff trees equals this state dot wander. Perfect. And right here. So this is, it's important to know that the decisions for which state we are entering or the enemy is going to be entering, the logic for that remains on the enemy. The actions remain on the state's scripts itself. And the machine that just handles the playing of these states is the state machine. Okay, so I use a state machine here to run the wander class. Then I have some logic here about, you know, switching. I have my targeting logic and melee collider logic. So all in all, it's a very clean script. Our update function is very small. You can see here's our update. Everything's being done here, and the reason why it's so small and so easy to read is because I have kind of not outsourced, but I put these functions, and I have this class like targeting utils that I opened up. So I have an attack utility class that is basically just holding a whole bunch of functions. More will come, but it's just holding functions that the enemies can do. For example, melee attack, ranged attack, spawn enemies, stuff like that. But yeah, so this was the under the hood section of our video. AI targeting methods, yeah. State.wander. Here you see that we have stuff on enter. So I'm going kind of far over again. We're right around 28 minutes. So it was a longer video again, but at least it's two weeks worth of work kind of combined into one section now. So it's a lot of stuff that we did. So our enemies are completely coded in. The only thing left to do for these is the sound, and I just want to raycast this so it's always looking at me instead of always in front of the enemy. But got a lot done the past 2 weeks. I'd say easy 100, if not 120 hours of work this week. So yeah, that's everything I wanted to talk about, and thank you for tuning in, and I hope that you're enjoying my progress so far, and I really do appreciate the support. Thanks.